Hey everyone, um, this is another book review. Today I am reviewing The Asylum for Wayward Victorian Girls by Emilie. This is a self-published book, despite it being fairly popular. It is technically, yes, still self-published, so there it does qualify for me to review this book. This is going to be my first negative review. Like, The Savior's Champion was a fairly negative review. I had a lot to say about that one, but this one, this is the worst one that I've read. But let me get into this. So, first off, the plot. There's really not much of a plot to this book. It starts off with Emilie Autumn's self-inserted self, 17-year-old self-inserted self, being taken to a psych ward after trying to commit suicide. And she finds these letters from this Victorian girl, and, so on and so forth. The Victorian girl was this musical prodigy who got sent to this one guy who was really abusive, so, she escaped and tried to commit suicide, and she got sent to an asylum, and a whole bunch of horrible stuff happens within the asylum, and a few things mirror what's going on with real-world Emilie, or I guess modern Emilie, whereas Victorian Emilie has a whole bunch more stuff going on, and there's actually a lot more story with the Victorian Emilie than the modern Emilie, and what plot that there is really hard to decipher sometimes, because it just goes on and fucking on, way longer than it really should. There is a little bit of a plot there, and it's a 3 out of 5. Like, it's not horrible, but it definitely could have been so much better than what it was. So, yeah, plot is a 3 out of 5. Characters. Oh, man. Characters. So, modern Emilie is a whiny drama queen who doesn't understand that normal hospital practice is normal hospital practice. It's actually meant to help. She gets sent. She's supposed to be there for 72 hours minimum. And she's like, I've been here for 72 hours. Why aren't they letting me go? I don't think they're ever gonna let me go. And it's like, gee, I wonder why they're not letting you go. They think you're anorexic. They think you have an eating problem, and you're not helping them in any shape, way, or form with this. So yeah, she is just this insufferable drama queen that I could not stand. Victorian Emilie, well, definitely a much better character, is exceptionally pedantic and very, very pretentious, despite being in an asylum. The side characters are all exceptionally boring, bland, have absolutely little personality except for a couple character quirks, like the one girl thinks she's a pirate, and the one girl is some stripper dancer sort of person. And the rest of them really don't have any sort of character because they tend to not be there for longer than a single chapter, which sometimes doesn't last very fucking long at all. In the modern era, yeah, there's a few nurses here and there that, whatever, and the only other character of note is Dr. Sharp, who is apparently supposed to be this big figure throughout the book, but it's only really present throughout, like, the first little bit, and then very, very briefly at the end. Yeah, he really doesn't have much. Yeah, he's a little bit of a skis ball, at least in how she's describing it. He comes off as a bit of a skis ball. All I have is her description. So maybe the guy was a bit of a skis ball, but whatever. Yeah, I am going to definitely be giving characters a 2 out of 5. Like, it's bad. These are some really awful characters, and I did not like a single one of them. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm actually going to give the characters a 1 out of 5, because I really just can't stand them. Yeah, scratch that. Scratch that 2 out of 5. I'm giving them a 1 out of 5. Imagination research. I'm not entirely sure what to make of this one. I mean, supposedly a lot of this, like the modern stuff, was taken from her actual diary entries when she was in the psych ward back in 2004 or whatever, and some of this I don't actually fully believe really happened. It's hard to really pinpoint like which stuff. You kind of got to read it and go, yeah, okay. Either you're being exceptionally dramatic about this, or you are in the worst psych ward that has ever been ever. In terms of the Victorian one, yeah, there's a little bit of research that was done in terms of stuff like the fascination with suicide, especially female suicide. And I mean, it is fairly common knowledge that asylums, especially back in the Victorian era, were exceptionally brutal places. So I mean, that's not really, yeah, it's harsh in terms of our sensitivities and stuff like that, and even in terms of human rights standards. Yeah, it's an exceptionally brutal place, but for the most part, and the only reason I'm going to give this and the only reason I'm giving this as low as a 3 out of 5, because I mean there was some care taken into this, is that it tries to present itself as a true story. The novels, like the novel part, is definitely the Victorian stuff. That was all a fabrication, clearly all a fabrication, but a lot of this stuff I'm also starting to wonder whether or not it is actually all fictionalized and just made to seem like a fake story or like a true story. Basically, I'm considering this as much of a true story as I would consider the Blair Witch Project a true story. Yes, Emilie Autumn did go to a psych ward, and yes, she probably was a bit of a drama queen and and her expectations were not what she got, because, you know, they hardly ever are. But, I mean, with the Blair Witch, there really were 3 people out in the woods filming and reacting to what was going on around them. So it's hard to say. I'm giving imagination and research a 3 out of 5. It probably deserves less, but it's hard to say how much of it is real and how much of it is not, other than, you know, the Victorian stuff, which a lot of the stuff was taken directly from basic common knowledge of the Victorian era. The writing was not awful, but definitely not good. It's written in sort of letter format. Like, the Victorian stuff is written in letter format, whereas the journal stuff is written directly from journal format. I'm going to give this one a bit of a lower score, mostly because it does that stupid thing that I absolutely hate when it comes to journals and letters and stuff like that, where they appear to have a bit of an eidetic memory when it comes to conversations. I hate that, because it is so unrealistic. Nobody writes a letter detailing every bit of a conversation. Nobody writes a journal detailing every bit of a conversation. They might paraphrase a few things, but they're not going to have the actual conversation in there. Like, at all. Because that's just not how people write. I'm giving it some actual points because it is entertaining. In the very least, it's entertaining. That's all I can possibly give the writing. And I'll get to the ending in just a second, which I hated. Spoiler alert, I hated the ending, but yeah. For writing, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5, purely out of entertainment value. Everything else was frustrating, and I got it as an audiobook. I didn't actually get the actual copy of it, so from what I've heard about the copy, it is not exactly the easiest thing to read either. A lot of it is handwritten, which is very difficult to decipher, and yeah, not good. So actually, in the sake that it's handwritten, I'm going to actually give the writing a 2 out of 5. Because, well, despite not having to experience it firsthand, I have to kind of go along with what other people have shown as well. Like, I've seen snippets of this book since reading it, and it's not an easy read after that. So I'm going to give writing an actual 2 out of 5. The ending. I'm not even going to put a spoiler warning on this one. If you want to know the end, if you don't want to know the ending, just read the fucking book or get it on audiobook. If you actually care, but I'm willing to bet that if you have clicked on this, you are looking to see what I thought about this. So I'm not even going to put a spoiler warning on this one. It's been out for fucking ever. So if you haven't read it, you're probably not going to, especially after this review. If you were going to read it anyway, then you probably already have. Or what I'm going to say doesn't even matter. So, yeah. The ending. So, the Victorian stuff takes up the vast majority of the book. There's no secret there, and I think it should have been the entirety of the book. But then it gets down to it being a letter format, and so they overtake the asylum, they kill everybody with sharpened spoon handles, and yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I mean, suspension of disbelief, I'm willing to do all that. The talking rats and whatever, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm willing to, forego all that, whatever. It's entertainment value. No. After all that, and they choose to stay, which, yeah, okay, whatever. But then the asylum starts to collapse in on itself because it apparently doesn't have a foundation. And, yeah, it collapses all in on itself, and all the girls jump from the building and kill themselves. I would not have an issue with that at all. But the letter straight up states, and we jumped. And I know that this whole thing is modern Emilie's hallucination. She doesn't realize that she was writing it, and then as such read it, or was imagining reading this stuff when it's just a bunch of scribbles and whatever words and her own writing, blah blah blah, whatever. It doesn't mean that I can't hate this ending. It doesn't mean I can't hate the style in which it was written in, which makes it absolutely stupid. The sake that it doesn't actually have a proper ending in terms of her and her, like modern Emilie and her psychoses. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have any sort of actual conclusion to it. So I hate it. I genuinely hated this ending, and I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. And it's lucky to be even getting that much. Yeah, I really hated this ending. Like, I have not enjoyed some endings that have not had the balls to go to do what I think they should have done. I have given alright reviews to endings that I think definitely could have been a lot better. This, I hated. I left this book feeling so unsatisfied that I am glad that I got the audiobook for free based on a credit instead of actually spending money on this. I am so pissed about the ending of that book, and not in a fanboy, no, you can't do that, you shouldn't have done that. This actually wasted my time. This book wasted my time. So 1 out of 5 for an ending. Hated it. So, all in all, The Asylum for Wayward Victorian Girls gets a whole 2.5 out of 10. This book is bad. This book is really bad. And I do not recommend this book to anyone. And look, I'm willing to forgive a lot when it comes to a book. I really am. But when a book is just hitting you bam, 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 bam with just schlock and bad writing and bad character development and just bad characterization altogether, I can't stand by it. And it's hard to say anything good about it. The best I can say is that I wasn't bored at any given moment. Like, it's entertaining. It's not good, but it's entertaining. And if you want something that's not good but entertaining, you're going to watch a B movie or something. You're going to watch something that's not going to take you 7 hours to sit through in terms of an audiobook, or however long it takes you to read the book. You're going to watch something for an hour and a half, be like, wow, that was awful, laugh about it, and then go on with your day. I'm sorry, Miss Autumn, but I can't endorse this book. It is just awful. It is really bad. Entertaining. Definitely entertaining. Definitely was not bored. But it's bad. It is very, very bad. So, hopefully I don't have to do another review like this ever again, because I hate giving bad reviews. But sometimes the review is just not good. So, See you, everybody.